So let's go to the phone. Todd, line 2, has a comment about Whole Foods. You're talking to Sam Seder. I'm filling in for Jenk. Welcome to the program,
Hey.
Todd.
Hey, Sam, just first off, I completely agree with you on the fact that he has the right to have his voice be heard. And in our free market society, your vote is with your dollar. However, I do want to correct you on your example you said a second ago for the health savings account. The fact that an employee would get back to the point where they would have to decide whether to go to the doctor or spend that money on a vacation. The money put in a health savings account goes 100% is their money in their account that they're placing $2,500 a year in that account for their employee. That money can only be spent on medical items, whether it's spent this year or the following year or any point in the future. In no way is a health savings account giving people, the consumers, the right to spend the money on a personal item or health care. That could be further from the truth to your example.
By Republicans, he actually gives $1,800. He gives an $1,800 fund, and it's a $2,500 deductible. But the proposal that's floated most often by Republicans is basically, we'll put this money into a tax-free savings account, and you can do with that money as you want. If you spend it on health care, it remains tax-free. If you don't, it gets taxed. So it's not exactly – what he's doing is akin to a health savings account. It's not exactly a health savings account.
Yeah, but the vast majority of health savings accounts also have an insurance tied to it as well. It just caps the available spending and then has a net pool thereafter that can be used. And to call a program like that somebody that doesn't care about community of employees is a pretty big stretch.
Well, here's my point, though, is that that's one thing for this one company to do. And I don't know, from what I can tell, the Whole Foods people like it. But, I mean, can you knock off 3 or 4 other companies that are doing this in the entire country?
It's a relatively new plan, and more, especially small companies, are going to that plan. I know
you tell me
just switched companies and was giving that
the bottom
option.
line is the reason why this guy does it is because he wants to fend off unions, because unions will offer some type of health care plan. And so this is one of the ways that he fends off unions. But the fact of the matter is that, and he's also selling his product to people who otherwise would be concerned about his union practices, but he's got employees who are, who he pays quite well. Most corporations simply don't do that, and we can't expect that to work as a national health care plan.
Well, with the way unions of the day, the little impact they make for the union members, I don't blame him for wanting to keep the unions out of his business. But
I can tell you right now that I have health insurance through my union. I will have health insurance through my union for a year after I lose my job, and they make a huge impact on my life.
Well,
I don't really even have one of those unions that people talk about that much.
Well,
I'm an after.
I follow more conservative value, and the one thing that I think that a lot of Democrats say, and I heard you say earlier, is the fact that the Republicans do anything that's going to help health care. And just using common sense, why wouldn't anybody want to do something that improves the system? It could be the fact that people are just going with the current plan is what would improve the system.
I'll give you one reason why, in common sense, you would not want to improve the system. Because you don't care. Because you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by industry lobbyists. Because you hope to maybe someday be one of those industry lobbyists. Because your base and your fundraising is focused on not changing healthcare in a way that the insurance industry loses money. I mean, you want to talk about common sense, that's a fairly obvious reason.
You said the same thing about the housing collapse that we had and the payments from Fannie and Freddie and Dodd and Barney Frank received as part of the economic collapse.
The notion that Fannie and Freddie were responsible for the housing crisis is an absolute fiction. The notion that that's what was determinant about that is an absolute fiction. We had this housing crisis from a combination of artificially low interest rates that Alan Greenspan pushed down there to basically justify George Bush's tax cuts to the rich. We also had a situation that because of those low interest rates, it drove foreigners out of treasury bills and created a new market for these once and twice and 3 times over derivatives of these mortgages that were sold, and because you decoupled the people who issued these mortgages and administers these mortgages from the people who held the notes, the whole system got screwed up, which was a function of a lot of deregulation in the banking industry, which, I don't care who I supported at any given time, was a function of both the Republican-controlled Congress and Bill Clinton. So, I mean, that's why we had this housing crisis. But, this is what is a classic conservative answer to when they run into a problem with their logic about whatever the issue is that you're talking about. It's some form of, well, Clinton did it too, or Chris Dodd did it too, or, there's going to be, let me ask you a question. Do you believe, Todd, in these death panels? Do you believe there are death panels?
What's that?
Do you believe
let me give you a response, please. The reason there was so much mortgage debt available and that funding was provided through Fannie and Freddie is that the Washington politics decided that the American dream was for everybody to own a home. As long as more people owned a home, it would be better for them to retain power. That's Republican and Democrat.
You can, I guess, call that the ownership society, right? You might want to call that the ownership society, and that seems to me to have been George Bush's program. But let's talk about this. I mean, you're a conservative. I want to hear from a conservative on this. Do you believe in the idea that there are death panels in any health care reform bill?
I do not.
Okay. Do you believe that illegal immigrants, as you would probably call them, or undocumented workers will get free health care from this bill?
From my understanding is they will not.
Right. Okay. Do you believe
let me ask that question for you when you're done.
Sorry?
I've got a question for you when you're done with mine.
Okay. Do you believe that Barack Obama is a citizen of this country?
Is it what, I'm sorry?
Citizen of this country, of the United States.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Every major conservative leader, whether he is the head of the RNC, whether he is Rush Limbaugh, whether it's Sarah Palin, whether it's Grassley, has come out and said that they believe these things.
I don't.
How does that make you feel? That the leaders of your party or your ideology believe these things that you know are fictions?
Well, as much as you try to make Rush the head of the NRC, he is not. And
right, but the head of the RNC actually has said that he believes there is something like death panels.
Do you believe that people at the town halls are carrying swastikas like Pelosi said?
Well, yes. I mean, actually, you can actually go online and see some woman who basically yelled Heil Hitler to an Israeli guy in Las Vegas who was explaining
one woman
about the national.
So you paint every Republican or conservative person there as wearing Nazis?
How does it feel?
How does what feel?
How does it feel to have all your leaders basically believe these fictions that you know are not true?
I don't believe that they believe that as much as the Democrats are believing that every person in the town hall is carrying swastikas, but they use that to their political advantage.
You can call in tomorrow night because I'm going to play for you Michael Steele's RNC, head of the RNC, his belief that there are death panels. I'll play Grassley. I'll play Dick Morris. I got quotes from all these people, but we got to go tonight. And you notice he did the same tactic again. Well, I have no answer for this, but what about Nancy Pelosi? All right, Sam Seder filling in for Jake on the Young Turks. I'll be here tomorrow night. We will see you then, folks. Thanks for joining me.